Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me again. This is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. October 27th, 2023. As always, quite a bit going on a couple of sides. We'll start with the markets. We are in extreme territory still. Just can't get below this, even though markets have corrected a bit. We're down below the 330 on the MMRI at least. It was above that for a little bit. Still at 323. There's still quite a bit of fear. There was a sell-off yesterday, and we watched the 10-year approach the 5% again. The market hates that, as well as the dollar getting relatively stronger. And if you think about this, put it down here, kind of like a balance. You watch the stock market, it's on one side, and the 10-year yield in the US dollar. And as one goes up, the other side will go down, and conversely. So the stock market went down yesterday as the 10-year and the US dollar went up. And then you've also got your fear buys when people think, something is going on or whatever. The fear and greed is what motivates. So the fear buys are gold, Bitcoin now, and cash, the US dollar. So we're watching the volatility index is dropping a bit, the fear gauge, and the futures are going green. So we've got some things that will be affecting this. The current sentiment is negative to neutral. So we are back in the downward trend, the larger term downward trend, and we are Fed dependent again. So we've got to watch the September PCE report. It's coming out today. It's likely to cause a bit of a rebound. We don't know what's going to be in it, at least temporarily for today. I'm expecting a bit of green, kind of choppy, but will recover a bit from yesterday. Sold off pretty hard on this news. So today is Friday options expiry, and we've got that max pain indicator for the chop range. Will actually tell you if you're into options during what we call the power hour at the end of the day, is when volume increases, the first hour and the last hour of the trading day. So for the calendar today, most of this is prior to market open. We've got personal income, the PCE, which is what we're going to be watching. And then consumer sentiment is at 10 a.m. So our upcoming big thing we are watching is actually next week is the Fed Reserve hike or decision on interest rates, whether they hike or pause. I don't think they'll cut. That's next Wednesday, the 1st. So for oil, I found this and thought it was interesting. It's still headline and war driven in the kind of correction chop zone. But Microsoft and many of the tech companies, so this story, they're on pace to buy more clean jet fuel than most airlines. So they're pre-buying, and in return they get the quote-unquote carbon credits because they fly around so much that they're pre-buying. What do you think they're expecting for the oil price? Just a thought. So I do expect it to continue higher in the long run, even though it's on a temporary pullback, and that will in turn drive inflation higher as well. So not so much central banks, but Janet Yellen saying that this yield surge is due to a strong economy and not the deficits that the government is planning. This is kind of backwards. I disagree, but she's General Janet. So she's saying that our GDP is showing that our economy is doing very well, but they're not mentioning that the good portion of that GDP is in all of the production of whether it's ammunition or war weapons that we are shipping to other countries. So those are massively expensive, massively inflationary, but it increases our GDP, and so there you go. We've got this is Banga from the World Bank, and I don't know why they've got his picture when this is actually a quote from Yellen, but they're talking about the International Monetary Fund. He's actually in the World Bank, and even though they're all kind of same sides of a different coin, what her point is that we really need to watch this war with the entire, basically focused on Israel versus Hamas, from spreading. Well, it's already spreading, Syria and neighboring countries, Lebanon. So she's saying, after saying we can afford 2 and 3 wars, now she's saying we have to be careful not to let it spread. And it's too late for that, I'm afraid. So we will have higher rates for longer. This is just a part of it. And then we've also got our trade wars going on. So NVIDIA, the US government is telling them to stop artificial intelligence chip exports to China. And what's happening is China has overtaken the United States in patents for artificial intelligence. They're taking American technology and they are reverse engineering it, basically tearing it apart, figuring out how it was made, and then making it either similar or some cases even better. So they've been ordered to stop. This could affect this stock today. I imagine it will. So if you're trading NVIDIA, keep an eye out for this. So this is kind of an older story, but I want to bring this to light because it's starting to come into play now. So United States was to miss the deadline to avoid new digital service taxes. So they're talking about a global taxation on some of the tech giants, and this affects all of it affects Google, Meta, which is Facebook, as well as a lot of the other tech companies. And so is she saying that they're going to be working on this global tax throughout this next year? So they're going to have to start kicking in and paying more taxes. This is going to have some downward pressure on the tech giants and by default the NASDAQ in general. So if you're looking to put your money elsewhere, some people are looking into emerging markets. And there is an ETF, they brought this out. This is not financial advice, of course, but they're trying to avoid China. So this ticker is EMXC, and it's a fund. So I have not personally looked into this deeply. I'm going to be running numbers on it, but they just brought this out that basically they're putting the bulk of it in stocks from India and Taiwan, which is really the point I want to make. So India and Taiwan are now the growth manufacturing powerhouses seen in the world, kind of quietly taking over in these things. And a lot of the trade is going through either India direct, they're changing into their currencies, or through Singapore. So these are the up and coming kind of countries' production areas. And I know I've got a couple of people that watch this from Singapore and the area. So if you have comments on this, feel free to weigh in. I would appreciate that. So a couple of lava updates. Put this because it's not directly market related. And I know they are bombarding the news with the war, and it's distracting and it's meant to distract. But some of these stories are not exactly what they seem, as always. So we had a couple of attacks, as far as the United States versus Syria. So they're saying that fighter jets strike, the importance is the language, Iran-linked sites in Syria in retaliation for the attacks on US troops. So I'm sure you're going to hear about this. But what's going on is we're trying to link Iran in this whole thing to get permission from the world community to go to war with them. So Iran is returning saying that they're ready for a long war with us. And it's because they know they have backing. So on the other side, we had the US military saying Chinese fighter jet came within 10 feet. 10 feet is insanely close. So I don't know about this, but these are all kind of stirring up the pot, so to speak, on our B-52s, which they're concerned about. We just had a threat from North Korea about the B-52s, so I just want to bring that up. We've got another threat. This is indirectly. Basically, the US will not be spared if Israel-Hamas war escalates from Iran. Again, kind of pushing this into us, getting us farther and deeper into this war. While at the same time, they're saying Hamas has offered to free hostages, but they're also talking about in a swap for Palestinians. So there's over 6,000 Palestinians held in prisons. So we keep hearing talk about separate Palestinians from Hamas, but now they're doing trades for these hostages. And I don't know, they always talk about negotiating with terrorists. Do you think we should be negotiating to free these Palestinians in the prisons? You know, it's kind of a mess. And with that, we have also managed to irritate Russia, and they have promised a response to the US nuclear deployment in Europe. So Moscow has been pushing back against NATO for some time. And a lot of countries that have wanted to join, including Ukraine, tried to join NATO. And basically, it's US plus friends. So they're cracking down on this, and they're talking about where all of the nuclear arsenals are across Europe, including Turkey at the moment. So we're kind of watching these things geopolitically. I do expect events to happen as they need them to. There are going to be some things happening they don't expect, I believe, but this is all kind of processed, and the headlines and the language they use are important to pay attention to. So, with that, I want you all to have a good weekend. So, wishing you a green trading day, just a wonderful day in general. Until I see you again, my friends, stay free.